Peace, peace, peace and light. It's son Yah, father-in-law, aka Syfa. Um, I'm just browsing through. I ain't shopping though, but more evidence. What happened? Okay, there we go. Here's some more evidence of America's the first out of the water and the greatest. This is an account of historian.
Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. But E. Calloway is content, for he has found the Garden of Eden. The truth makes you free, says the country lawyer. I've studied the Bible and walked these woods, and I can prove that this is paradise. And the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. This sacred spot, contends Calloway, is here to the east of the Apalachicola River in the unspoiled country of the Florida Panhandle. Here grow trees pleasant to the sight, including gopher trees, the long-needled torreya which Noah used to build the ark. A Baptist minister, Calloway started his search after discovering several petrified logs of the wood near the park. That says the woods afire, he says of the discovery, and here his quest ends, where the river winds its way through the green loveliness of his Eden, all described and documented in his book. Well, Mr. Calloway, you say that this is the Garden of Eden. There it is.
I think about in the center of the garden, north and south. The Garden of Eden, east and west, is not over 10 miles wide, paralleling the river from Chattahoochee down to Bristol. But you're right in the center of it here at Torreya State Park, north and south, between Chattahoochee and Bristol.
Well, now, according to the Bible, the Garden of Eden must have trees pleasant to the sight, and it must have gold and onyx stone and a river of four heads. Is this one of the rivers?
This is the Pison River, which is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when it says, a river went out of Eden to water the garden and parted and became into four heads. The tree life from Chattahoochee to Bristol is the largest of any other area in the world. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many more, including the gopherwood tree. The Bible names those four river heads as the Pison, the Gihon or Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. The first one was the Pison. The Bible says that is it that compasseth the land of Havilah, which was North Florida before the flood, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is G-O-O-D. The Bible used that adjective to describe the North Florida gold to further tie down the exact location of the Garden of Eden. The next verse says there's also bdellium there, which is nothing but rosin out of pine trees that God instructed Noah to pitch the ark out of, and onyx stone, which is marble. And North Georgia, right where this great river has its source, is one of the largest marble areas in the world. The Tate Marble Quarry and Company there, Tate, Georgia, is one of the largest. So the natural monuments definitely mentioned and described in the Bible as being related to the Garden of Eden are here, and they are not anywhere else on this earth.
Well, not only are we sitting in the Garden of Eden, but we're also sitting in an area where You say Noah built the ark.
Noah built the ark out of gopher wood, which God selected himself for him to build it out of.
Is this the only place that
This
you know
is the
of?
only place on this earth where it has ever grown. It's the most peculiar wood on earth. You can take a piece of it the size of this match when it's green. You can't break it. You can twist it and turn it. It's the lightest wood on earth. I have had its fibers, its structure, its every phase of it chemically analyzed. There's no other wood on earth like it. It's the lightest. And Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torrey State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ararat, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice.
Now, there are four rivers that are necessary for the Garden of Eden. What are the four rivers here?
A river went out of Eden to water the garden, says the 2nd chapter of Genesis, and it parted and became into four heads. The Pison, the Gison, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. That is the only four-head river system on this earth. When the idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was somewhere else or over in Europe or in Africa or someplace over there, the Western Hemisphere was unknown. They did not know that the continent existed west of the Atlantic Ocean. Therefore, they couldn't search this continent along with the others to find the river of four heads and these other great natural monuments which the Bible said was related to the Garden of Eden. It came my pleasure and my responsibility and my duty to search the North American continent and definitely point out the same bare natural monuments that the Bible relates to.
Callaway points with pride to the official map of the U.S. engineers at Chattahoochee, which shows what Callaway says is the only four-head river system in the world. That is a system described in the Bible, where in Genesis, the river flowing out of Eden, which waters the garden, parts and becomes into four heads. First, there is the Gihon, now known as the Flint River, which flows towards the land of Ethiopia. Then the Euphrates, the Spring Creek River, whose name was transferred to the Middle East after the flood. The Hiddekel River is Fish Pond Creek River, which borders the land of ancient Assyria. And finally, the last of the four rivers, the wide and lovely Pison, the Chattahoochee, today a river of trade and commerce. The Apalachicola seems an unlikely name for the river flowing through Eden, but here, according to Callaway, is the heart of the garden. This peaceful river is the life source of the lush vegetation of the original habitat of the first man and woman. According to Callaway, the names of these rivers and the land surrounding them were transferred to the other side of the world when, after floating in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights, Noah and his family landed on Mount Ararat in Turkey. The legend of the bountiful garden, too, was transferred to the Middle East, where archaeologists have searched in vain for a four-head river system, such as described in the Bible. Well, Mr. Callaway, everyone knows the story about the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Knowledge. Do you know where
Sorry for the interruptions. These videos be acting up lately.
the Tree of Knowledge existed in this garden, and was it an apple tree?
The word apple or the plural apple is not even mentioned in the book of Genesis. That's been added on by fiction and superstition. The Bible mentions apple or apple 3 times, but they're speaking of the apple of the eye because it's in the shape of some apples, you know. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is a spiritual tree. God told Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden in the 16th verse of the 2nd chapter of Genesis, of every tree of the garden, of the fruit of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat. There was not any forbidden fruit in the garden. But he told them in another verse, there's one in here, that if you eat that, you shall die. And that's the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Mother Eve thought a good long time before she made up a decision whether or not to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And she decided that she'd rather live the 70 years that God had promised them by knowing good from evil and then die, rather than live on a parity with a totally insane person or an animal forever in paradise and never know right from wrong.
There is a certain magic here in the heart of these woods, for they are special woods to one man. To him, this sanctuary of nature is more than interesting, its loveliness more than coincidental. It is planned and deliberate. The beauty of this forest contains not only the serenity and quiet of unspoiled and unpillaged land, but the mystery of life and creation itself. The idea, the intimation, and finally for him, the proof that this is Eden, crowns this green glen, that wooded hill, this flowing river, with purpose. They are tangible elements of a beginning that is buried in the hearts of all men, a beginning shrouded in the mists of time and tradition, a beginning that is believed but unproven. For where, after all, did it happen? Was it here or there, east or west, in a now modern city or in a forsaken desert where no man lives? Callaway answers the confusion by saying simply, it happened here. He knows because he was meant to know, and for him this is no ordinary place. He has discovered the secret of this forest, its purpose and its meaning. Paradise lost has been for him and those who believe him regained, and for one man that is his reward. The key to Eden is gopher wood, the Torreya evergreen. Make thee an ark of gopher wood, said the Lord to Noah, and gopher wood grows only in this park. The tree produces a buoyant wood that would be suitable for the building of an ark.
This is the tree back in, I guess, in 1972. At that time, I have another video I want to show about a guy over Florida that did something on the 31st parallel, and it connects to this almost mirror effects with more modern language use. But let me finish this one up.
Logs of petrified gopher wood, which Callaway discovered here, he said, were sawed off good and smooth, just like a chainsaw would have done.
This is a part of the beauty of the Garden of Eden. When the recent storm Agnes was coming up through the Gulf, my friends and neighbors were calling me and warning me to board up or leave there. I said, go back and go to sleep, go to bed. God's not going to destroy the Garden of Eden. When it got out at Apalachicola, it parted, and one half went up through Tallahassee and the other Panama City. And just as it got north of Chattahoochee out of the garden, it went back together and spanked the hell out of them from there on to New England. I've pointed out to man, I've proven it by natural monuments, the same as are described in the Bible, and I've given him a direction as to how to go there. And they're going to come here by the tens of thousands, not gamblers and crooks and speculators, but the finest men and women on this earth, to come here and feel. You feel something here you don't feel anywhere else in the world.
This is Diane Conklin.
I wonder if he's speaking from a immigrant's point of view. That's crazy too, you know. But
4 p.m. in the Torreya State Park.
Okay, he's probably going to stun me. So we got to stun him first. No, he stunned me as well.
A little trying to get it together over here. Why it won't go back on? Okay, I can't get it back on like I want it. Okay, let's put this down then. And go. And go here. Yeah, I'm showing old Florida. I think he was on something to here, so I'm gonna share. Shout out to him and the research he does.
I thought I'd show you guys how to find the Garden of Eden. Now, this is the real Garden of Eden, not the fake one over in Iraq. Now, there's lots of reasons why the Garden of Eden is not in Iraq, was not in Iraq. But the biggest one would have to be that Noah's Ark landed in Eurasia, but nowhere does it say that it departed
now
from Eurasia. And just because names like Tigris, Euphrates, Ethiopia, Assyria have been transplanted to Eurasia, just like people do when they get off a boat coming from England to America or England to Australia and so on, so too did these names get transferred. In my opinion, and in the opinion of many, these names were transplanted from the Western Hemisphere to the East. Now, we have great evidence to show for this, lots of which you can find on my YouTube channel, Old World Florida. But this video is going to be dedicated to the 31st parallel north. So, what we're looking at here on screen is the precise region in Iraq where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are said to split. So, there were 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden, as described in the book of Genesis. 2 of them are said to be in Iraq today. Now, the word Tigris is not used in the book of Genesis, but Euphrates is. So those 4 rivers were the Pison, the Gihon, the Euphrates, and the Hiddekel. So Tigris wasn't in there, but they tell us Tigris is one of them now. I'm not going to bore you with the whole story on that, but Tigris and Euphrates, okay. So we've got 2 of the rivers, but not all 4. Now they'd like you to believe that there's 4 rivers. We zoom out a little bit, you'll see some more rivers. But one's going this direction, one goes that direction. It's a fucking mess. This is not what's described in the book of Genesis. Not to mention the fact that it's desolate, dry, arid, stricken with war, lots of other problems. I don't know if this is what I'd expect in the Garden of Eden. So, nonetheless, we're going to zoom in here, and you see they've even got it marked there, the tree of knowledge, things like that. So, this is what they've been teaching us in schools for about 1,000 years or so. But nobody's ever really given much thought to where Noah departed from. Okay, so this is Iraq. This is where the 2 rivers split. Well, the 31st degree parallel north. We're going to click on this little pin here. You're going to see 31st degree parallel north. That's latitude. Now, right off the bat, you need to know that most of the world's population chooses to live around the 30th degree latitude, north and south. So the 30th degree north actually has a little bit more of that. And that's kind of what you'd expect if you're looking for the Garden of Eden. That's the most agreeable latitude to the human body. You just can't deny it. Look at maps of population density across latitude. So the northern 31st degree parallel is what we're looking at here, the Tigris and Euphrates, right where they split. Now, those who've scanned the world for a equal 4-headed river system, as described in the book of Genesis, pretty much come up empty-handed. And the reason that is they're only looking in Eurasia, Europe, Asia, Africa, the Middle East. But I'm going to show you guys, if you keep an open mind, and if you listen to the evidence with open ears, I think you're going to see we're looking at one of the greatest mysteries in biblical history, because we're going to follow the 31st degree parallel north across the Atlantic. Well, heading there, the first thing we're going to notice is the city of Jerusalem is also on the 31st degree parallel north. We'll zoom in here. You'll get to see that. I'll have to drop a pin, but there you go. 31st degree parallel north. Right there on Jerusalem. So, the holy city of Jerusalem, precisely, forget the rest of this video. That alone is amazing. That alone is remarkable. That the exact point of the two rivers of Eden, right? They've only got two. What a shame. Florida's got four, as you're going to see in a sec. But the precise location where the Tigris and Euphrates split is 31st degree. And then we're going to go over to Jerusalem again, and you'll see. Jerusalem also 31st.
Just for the catch up, he's showing Jerusalem 31st parallel on one of the margin lines or lattice, the lines that's crossing over the water to over here in Americas, which it shows they're on the same parallel alignment of the earth.
First degree parallel north. So that alone is remarkable. The precise location where the two surviving alleged rivers of Eden split the Tigris and Euphrates in Iraq. 31.0. Well, we head west to the holy city of Jerusalem in Israel, and guess what? 31 degrees latitude north. So
now this is correlating the 31 with the Bible and the Bible verses and how many verses in Genesis, which is a significant number because if you reverse it, 31 is 13.
that shows you right there what type of latitude we're dealing with.
Like I said, I'm gonna reverse it, and that 13th is the mystical number. They demify the number 13, so in reverse is 31. Ironies are the parallel between both of the numbers.
What type of ley line, things like that, a lot of sacred energy centers, things of that sort. Well, it's hard to argue against this one with Jerusalem and the two rivers in Iraq. Okay, well, just wait, guys. Now, not only that, it's going to hover across the top of the Nile Delta over there in Egypt, and it cuts through Alexandria, but we don't have much time for that. It cuts through a major city in Morocco. I think it's called Marrakesh. We don't have too much time for that, but
The North Gates. This is what they're talking about with the North Gates in Marrakesh.
guess what, guys? All my conspiracy theorists out there better know what Jekyll Island is, right? Jekyll Island is where the Federal Reserve was conceived. Federal Reserve Act by Rockefeller, Warburg, J.P. Morgan, the boys, representatives of Rothschild Bank.
Now, just to give more insight on it, on April 5th, 1933, the physical possessions and legal titles to lawful money, gold, was taken away from the people, but the people had to retain the equity titles to this lawful money, or else it would have amounted in death. McFading charge of theft and treason on May 23rd, 1993, lodged with the jurisdiction would have been prosecuted. These charges were amalgamated by the passing of HJR 192 on June 5th, 1933, which provided for the possibility of discharging upon payment of the obligations. These remedies was subtly affected by the United States Code 12 USC 411, which provided access to this lawful money. But I just wanted to input in that because he's talking about Jekyll Island, and this is how they usurped us into the system we are before with today. But I don't want to get too much off it. That's a little bit of reading of 12 UCC 411, and this is dealing with equity titles and the rabbit hole conspiracies. But we will continue.
Banking family. And this happened in 1910. Rothschild, J.P. Morgan, the boys, representatives of Rothschild banking family. And this happened in 1910. Private meeting on Jekyll Island. Lots of good stuff. Go check out my Jekyll Island video. But it shouldn't surprise you to see Jekyll Island 31.0. Jekyll Island, in some circles, has been nicknamed Shekel Island because of its financial history. Other people call it Jackal Island, right? Because of some of the predatory banking practices that have came out of that Federal Reserve Act conceived here. John D. Rockefeller having a house on an ancient Indian burial mound, things of that sort. So lots of spooky stuff with Jekyll Island. Again, we can't spend too much time on that, but we ought to note pretty much the early financial capital of this economic system that we're currently living in, all derived from Jekyll Island, Georgia, right over the Florida state line. But we're just getting started here. And something else that's worth noting, there's actually a neighborhood, a town, not quite a city, but a town in Georgia called Jerusalem. And that's actually right over the bridge here from Jekyll Island. So if you zoom in here, I'm going to have to look it up. Bear with me. See that? Boom. Right there. Jerusalem, Georgia. You got to be careful. There's another Jerusalem. But Jerusalem, Georgia. What are the odds that
What are the odds that these names, biblical names, are here on America's land? Or these names always been here and taking, as the fellow said earlier, I agree, transit took in from here to there. And just to be correct, always remember the J is a fairly new letter into the alphabet, a couple of 100 years old, not thousands of years old, the letter J. So I replace, every time I see the J, I replace it with a Y, which will bring the truth out.
there's a Jerusalem on the exact latitude as the holy city of Jerusalem, right there in East Georgia. Well, we're just getting cooking, guys, okay? Remember that tree of knowledge over there where the Tigris and the Euphrates split? Well, along this 31st degree parallel north, I'm going to drop another pin here at Waycross, Georgia. In Waycross is one of the largest oak trees in the world. Certainly one of the largest in the Americas. This thing is mammoth. It's actually a couple oak trees growing up into one oak tree. Gives the appearance of one oak tree. They can kind of blend together pretty easily like that. But Waycross, Georgia The trees in this area, the oak trees especially, some of the bald cypress, the live oaks. Well, the live oaks in this area of North Florida, South Georgia are mammoth, giant oak trees. I'm going to put some up on screen for you guys to see. If we're talking trees, Florida and Georgia blow Iraq out of the water. And when it comes to Garden of Eden qualities, Florida's the highest concentration of freshwater springs in the world. It is fertile as can be, right? It's one of the few places in the world you can live outside without clothing or fire altogether. Now we're talking Garden of Eden. Now, if this sounds crazy to you guys, remember, keep in mind, we don't know where Noah departed from. Now, the next significant thing we're going to cross on the 31st degree, the panhandle of Florida. The panhandle of Florida is constituted by the 31st degree latitude north, 31st degree parallel north. That's this flat line in the Florida panhandle. The lower flat line, that's the 30th degree parallel north. Over here, right near Jekyll Island, just south of Jekyll Island, where the border of Florida starts right there, at this river, they chose a major river. If that major river weren't there, I can pretty much guarantee you they would have chosen the 31st degree parallel north. So, keep heading west here. We get to the border between Florida and Alabama. And it's the Florida, Alabama, Georgia region, the FAG region. I'll give you a sec. So we're staring at the FAG region here in what I believe to be the true Garden of Eden, or at the very least, a Garden of Eden, or the new Garden of Eden. And we're going to lay the evidence out here. But number one, this precise area of North Florida, Northwest Florida, is particularly rich in high magnitude springs. Wakulla Springs is not too far from here. That's the highest magnitude, deepest, largest freshwater spring in the world. Northwest Florida over here, near Tallahassee. Springs in this area. Lots of produce. There's grapes. Of the 29 or so trees listed in the Bible, especially Genesis and the earlier books, about 25 or so of them can be found in this area. That's no joke. Why? Because this area is an Ice Age refuge. So trees that have gone extinct thousands of years ago in plenty of other places still survive here. This is the Apalachicola River Valley area, the Chattahoochee, Flint River, Apalachicola system. And the Apalachicola goes down to the Gulf of Mexico here. But over to the north, you actually see a split of 4 perfect rivers. 4 perfect rivers you can see right here. Now, how much more neat and accurate is that compared to the mess you have over in Iraq, where it's yellow and orange as far as you can see? This area, the Apalachicola, Chattahoochee, Flint River system, this is one of the most fertile places in the world. You have some of the largest trees in the world right here, as I'm going to show you. Not only that, this is one of America's great agricultural centers. Huge, huge. Peanuts, cotton, watermelon, satsumas, things like that. You wouldn't even need clothing or fire here. I can prove it to you. So go check out my videos if you'd like to see some more evidence for this. Again, this is just about the 31st degree latitude north. Like I said, this line right here, the flat line between Florida and Alabama, is the 31st degree parallel north. The same one that goes through Jerusalem, Georgia, Jekyll Island, Georgia, across the Atlantic to Jerusalem, Israel. Farther east you go, you hit the two rivers of the alleged Garden of Eden in Iraq. It's dry, desolate, arid, war-stricken. Well, here on the Gulf of Mexico, which to me appears to be the true Fertile Crescent, crescent-shaped, check, fertile, check. The Middle East, do you see a crescent-shaped landmass there? I don't. Do you see much fertility to speak of? I don't. Well, where else does the 31st degree latitude take us? It takes us across into Mississippi, and the 31st degree parallel north constitutes a border between Mississippi and Louisiana. To its westernmost extent, the 31st degree parallel state line terminates at the Mississippi River. Now, if you want to go real schizo on your swapped Bible names, right? Western Hemisphere to Eastern Hemisphere, consistent with a 150-day voyage on the Atlantic Ocean, as described in the book of Genesis when Noah gets into the ark. Like I said, they don't tell us where Noah departed from. They only tell us where he landed. So I'm not doubting any biblical history or biblical archaeology, because truly they're looking in the right spot. They're looking where Noah landed, and that's where the story picks up, and that's where most of the historical details and place names start getting recorded. But when you look farther back, early Genesis, the Garden of Eden, we're not told where that was. The names were transplanted. But when we're looking for four rivers, you can't find them in the Middle East. We have them here on the Florida-Georgia state line. Yeah, this four-headed river system on the Florida-Georgia state line, well, gopherwood is said to only grow one place in the world. For those unaware, gopherwood is what Noah's Ark was built out of. It's what the Lord told Noah to build it out of personally. Gopherwood has never been identified in Eurasia. Gopherwood, go look it up on Wikipedia, go look it up on whatever you want to look it up. The official gopherwood only exists in the Western Hemisphere. It has only been found to occur naturally in this precise region, the Chattahoochee-Apalachicola River area. I'm not joking. Go look it up. There are other descriptors in the book of Genesis. It says that there's good gold. Well, Georgia and South Georgia has the purest gold in the world. Again, not a joke. Not trolling here. It's the truth. The purest gold in the world. Right there. It's called the Georgia Gold Belt. It also extends partially into parts of Florida. You can't mine for it the same way as you mine for it over in the western parts of America, so it didn't take off as an industry. But the Dahlonega Mint, one of America's early gold mints, Dahlonega, taken from the Georgia Gold Belt, the purest gold in the world. 24 karat, we're told. The purest gold in the world at the Georgia Gold Belt. What else are we looking for? Bdellium? Well, that's just resin or rosin or the sap of a tree. I'll have you know that the principal industries of Florida and Georgia for the longest time was turpentine, pine sap. You can still trip over the little clay jars that they used to collect it in the forests of Florida to this day. So we've got the bdellium, the marble, it says onyx. Well, the Tate marble quarries, not far from here. It's considered inexhaustible. And again, a lot of these evidences and proofs, I didn't come up with them. Florida's 1936 Republican candidate for governor, L.V. Edison Callaway, wrote a book in 1966 called In the Beginning, which he put forth the idea, after a lifelong study of the Bible, being a preacher since he was 17, he came away with the opinion that the Garden of Eden was on the state line of Florida and Georgia. The gopherwood led him to this belief. The four-headed river system, the good gold, the onyx, the bdellium. But he never even knew about the 31st degree parallel north. He never even mentioned it once in his book. So I've never seen anybody talk about this on YouTube or anywhere else online, and believe me, I look. But
way. Yeah, that's why I brought the first video with Calloway, and he referencing him because this has been talked about and discussed and hidden and overseen by so many people. The lies that they have indoctrinated us in their system of education, which our people fight to change. Some of our people fight to change their system when it's actually against you. And it's always going to be foreign to this land. And some of the people from this land has become foreign to this land. That word he said, the dells, where is it? This word, and I see it's these are companies that they started and to take take the land, not because it belongs to the land anyhow. The riches of the land, you take something away, something do occurs, it's not given back the same.
the onyx, the bdellium. But he never even knew about the 31st degree parallel north. He never even mentioned it once in his book. So I've never seen anybody talk about this on YouTube or anywhere else online, and believe me, I look. But again, I'm not exactly coming up with all of this. For example, there was a movement around before the Civil War to begin a new Jerusalem in Northeast Florida, right over here. That was led by Moses Levy. A Sephardic was led by Moses.
Now, it's just odd for me to understand how, they happily make a story for every situation or every mountain that's found, like all these things that they have discredited the people on this land to foreigners, people that was born in other lands, people that's born of other bloods. Davy Levy was a counter to the Sultan. Like, really? The Sultan of Iraq? Like, why are they talking over there? If it's in North Africa, why are they talking to the sultans over there? Why are they dealing with those? Or do we still have these relations? Would these relations be traitorous? Because today's date is Friday, October the 4th, at 11:57 right now. So-called under the Gregorian calendar. Let's go.
Levy, a Sephardic Jew who had, his nationality's kind of murky. They bought over 100,000 acres.
his nationality kind of murky. Like this is why I showed this because my research would lead to the same. We always getting the same type of information using these search engines that only allow us to see certain things. So you have to always be mindful of that.
Acres before the Civil War. That was a ton of land. So a new Jerusalem, and they dumped a ton of money into it. What else do we have? Well, right over here, that's where John D. Rockefeller retired. Ormond Beach, Florida. Northeast Florida. That's where John D. Rockefeller retired. Henry Flagler, of course. Those two guys, they opened Standard Oil together. So, we're not just talking about some insignificant place here. The money that's been dumped into this area, yet the little media attention that it's ever received. And
mindfully, all these buildings they're showing has been repurposed. These buildings been here before these people reached this lands. These buildings been supported so hurricanes can't knock them down. They lasted through years of war wear and tear and only been remodeled and repurposed. Be very mindful. They wasn't here long enough to construct these buildings.
really that ridiculous for thinking Florida is the Garden of Eden or some type of Holy Land? I think the Jewish population of Florida is at least indicating something. So,
what on earth are you doing here?
I'm living here.
In Florida?
At some point, every Jew must live in Florida. It's in the Torah.
Wow.
So the first degree parallel north, we've got these large trees. You've got the Mississippi River. Now, there's some people who believe the Mississippi is the original.
Oh, that was called like satire, right? They make them subtle jokes and stuff. They showed that movie. It's satire. But this right here is very interesting when we're dealing with the arc up here, then the Mississippi River, ISIS. I like how you point this out, and also the Appalachian Mountain.
Original Nile River. I guess there's some other people who are in denial about this, but whatever. It's a fact that the Mississippi has the word Isis or Isis within it. Now, did you know that the Nile River, was nicknamed the River Isis? Mississippi. Miss Isis Sippy. Well, again, we can't focus too much on that in this video. Now, when it comes to the Garden of Eden, am I really claiming that this is the only Garden of Eden? No. I've actually had the pleasure of telling a lot of this stuff to a person who's rather Hindu in his faith. And as I was telling him a lot of this stuff, the 31st degree parallel north, the 4 sacred rivers, look, we've got them in Florida, not in the Middle East, right? You've only got 2 in the Middle East. War, desolation. Okay, well, as I'm telling him this stuff about the 4 rivers, 30 degree parallel north, he kind of thinks to himself for a second and says, hey, have you ever heard of Mount Kailash? I'd never heard of Mount Kailash. Admittedly, never heard of it. He goes on to tell me that in Hinduism, Buddhism, and a couple, adjacent religions, that their original origin story, mythology, cosmology, whatever you want to call it, their origin stories center around a 4-headed river system.
Wait, I want to check that word out. Jainism. I want to check that out. What is it? Jainism.
That
Jainism. Okay, Jainism. Let's show this. Also known as Jain Dharma. It's an Indian religion. Jain trace into spiritual ideas and histories throughout the succession of 24 Daikin Supreme preachers. Then there's a trans-theoism. Okay, I know what trans-theo. Okay. And forecasting that the universes evolve without violence, violating the law of substance, dualism. This brings me into henotnice, right? So, all right, and put that up. This bring me to henotnice, henoism. Okay, here we go. He not nice. Just understand, I respect everybody's understanding of their self in a way that people disrespect everyone's belief. But this is not a belief. This is just a mutual principle to respect each other. Henotheism, henodeism is the worship of a singular, supreme God, right? Is part of philosophy, systematic studies of general and fundamental questions concerning topics like existence, reason, knowledge, value, mind, and language. It is a rational and critical inquiry that reflects on its own methods and assumptions, right? And then this is also thinking, man. They don't want us to think, right? Use your brain before it's illegal. All right. Hedonism is the singular supreme God that does not deny the existence or possible existence of other deities that may be worshipped. Finch was a German philosopher, right? So he stands on philosophies, right? Whoever this guy is, black or white, Michael Jackson. Stand history, philosophy makes him the midpoint in the development of German idealisms, right? German idealisms, they call it, which depict primacy monotheism along with Greeks. Terminology coined by this Frank-rich German hen one. So they equate HEN as one. Theos is God. So I know some people are, I hope y'all are informed of Dios, but they also with a D. This is Dios. This is how they anglicize the words. Theisms, which comes from Greek, the term refers to a form focused on a single god related to the latter term is a distinction of henotheism, henotheism, he not nice, to a pluralistic theology within different deities are viewed in the unitary together, unity, equivalent divine essence. We're the divine people. Another term related to henotheism is equalism, right? Equality, referring to the belief that all gods are equal. Furthermore, the henoism does not exclude duality, non-duality. And it goes into Zoroism, so that's at another time. if I feel like it, but where is this other stuff? Yeah, I was doing research and came around with this. As they say, this is this a term, but lives in a film. This is for Hebrew. We live in a film. Everything's an act with actions attached to them. Uh, where is that? I'm looking for something else that I had earlier up. So this is bringing that up for. This is why I look up the monad, right? What is that word? The monad center. The term monad, unity, unite, unity, monos, alone, is used in the same cosmic philosophy and cosmology to refer to the most basic of original substance as original conceived, right? Man of original race. The mind, the thought. I'm looking for this other word. I probably messed it up. Oh, pardon me. Well, I'm gonna cut this short. I gotta handle some things. Things has to get handled. Peace and light to y'all, man. Life is a box of chocolates. Every day's a better day, better than yesterday. Salute to you.